What up, everybody, and welcome to a micro edition of the Charter Podcast brought to you by St. Xavier University. I am 𝗏𝗏 Shapiro, and I am joined by Sean Hammond. He is not new to the Bears beat. He's been here a while, but he is new to the Chicago Tribune's coverage, the newest member of the Chicago Tribune. Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Yes, absolutely. Been a couple months now at the Trib, and it's been a fun start.
Yeah, awesome. So we had a windy day.
Very windy.
At Halas Hall, and there were some notable absences. Let's just get those out of the way. So we saw Jalen Johnson and 𝗏𝗏𝗋𝗋𝗋 out doing calisthenics and stuff, but when it came to team drills, I didn't see either of them participate. And then other notable absences that just were not there. Kyler Gordon, TJ Edwards, Ryan Bates, Luther Burden, Terrell Smith, Colston Loveland, Zach Pickens, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃. Sean, I guess just like first reactions to the guys we did not see out there.
Well, a couple of those guys, Kyler Gordon, TJ Edwards, Luther Burden, those Ben Johnson has told us previously they're dealing with soft tissue injuries. Those are not really a surprise. Ben did note that everybody's in the building, so he's happy about that, whether they're participating in practice or not.
Right, exactly. 100% participation, or at least attendance. This is a time of the year. This is mandatory minicamp. So if guys are not in the building now, they could be subject to fines. But no, Ben Johnson says no need. Everybody's here. Everybody's at least in the classroom. We saw Braxton Jones. I did not mention Braxton Jones. We saw Braxton Jones on the bike doing rehab as he works from his ankle injury. So we at least spotted him out on the big bikes out there. So that's a good first start. It was a windy day. I think the most notable thing out the gate maybe is that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 was the man back at left tackle. Now, Ben Johnson told us it's going to be musical chairs out there. It went 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃, then it was 𝗦𝗏cie 𝗄𝗏𝗋𝗄𝗃, now back to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃, but none of this might matter in the end, Sean.
Yeah, I mean this is the number one most intriguing position battle, maybe the only true one as we sort of look towards training camp, but at this point, they're looking at both guys, and as you mentioned, Braxton's hurt. He's the incumbent starter. It might just wind up being his job anyway, and all this doesn't really matter come August, but we're going to have to wait and see. It certainly is notable just seeing both those guys taking reps.
And then further, Ben Johnson today says, the number one thing for a left tackle is pass pro. And what can't they do? They can't really pass pro because they're not wearing pads. So the offensive linemen aren't wearing pads, so it's like, it might just be spinning their wheels. Like, obviously they can show what they've learned in the classroom the grass, but without the pads on, these guys can't really block, so it's really hard to evaluate.
You really don't learn much about the offensive or defensive lines at this point in the year. For that reason, I do think it is a nice little insight into Ben's thinking there about that position, what's important to him. I mean, the pass protection is number one. He said anything you can get in the run game from those guys is gravy for your tackles. I thought that was interesting, just a little nugget into his brain.
Before we dive further into the press conferences, was there anything else from practice that you wanted to touch on?
No, not really. I mean, we saw Caleb, throw an interception in a 2-minute drill, tipped ball. Who knows whose fault that was? Maybe it was just bad luck. But really not a whole lot. Not a whole lot super interesting going on this time of year.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson again kind of alluded to that. He's like, this is essentially an extension of OTAs, and maybe we'll shake things up on days 2 and 3 so that things don't get stale. Might do some call-it periods. So that was interesting. And, another tip ball. We saw that at OTAs last week. Another one. It looked like this one went off of DJ Moore's hands with Tyreek Stevenson playing pretty good coverage. And then it was Nahshon Wright playing CB2 who came away with that ball. Okay, so let's dig into the press conferences. Let's start with Cole Kmet. He had a few interesting things to say. What was your big takeaway from Cole Kmet out there?
Well, he was pretty candid that he was his words were taken aback when he found out, watching draft night, when they took a tight end at number 10 overall. I think any NFL player is going to sort of have that reaction when your team takes somebody at your position that high. But he said Ben Johnson was great about it, called him right away, and explained, we want both of you guys in this offense. He's not here to take your job. And I think that was a nice gesture for Cole from Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was like, okay, once I saw the vision, I got a little on board, but then he also kind of alluded to, I didn't really know where I stood with Ben, and to be honest, I didn't know where Ben stood with me until I met that guy.
They're building this relationship, and so really, like Cole doesn't know Ben all that well, at least at that point in time, a month ago at this point. And so, there's always the question in the back of your mind, I would imagine, if you're in that position.
And then when he was asked about mentoring Colston, he's like, listen, I'm loving getting to know the kid, but it's not like when I came in the league, I had Jimmy Graham, who was an older dude at the back end of his career. Jimmy Graham had seen everything, had done everything. He's like, I'm still a young guy. I feel like I'm still learning. So, I'll do what I can. But it's not like I'm Jimmy Graham, future Hall of Famer at this point in my career. He knows he's still got a lot to learn, a lot to prove.
Yeah, Cole said, I'm not at the back end of my career yet.
Right.
I'm not at that point. And he's still a young player. I know he's on his second contract at this point, but he doesn't view himself in that vein in terms of just being here to be a mentor. He's here to play too.
Right, absolutely. Okay, DJ Moore also at the podium. It was all offense today. So DJ Moore, your big takeaways there.
The first question was about the body language thing. Ben talked about that last week. More specifically in regards to Caleb, DJ said it's not going to be an issue this year. That was one of the questions that Ben was asked yesterday when they were talking about this. Well, I know a lot of fans noticed DJ at times last year, and just the body language on and off the field. DJ was pretty clear that they've had the conversation and it's not going to be a problem.
I'm going to be honest. It happened once. I nipped it in the bud, and now we're not going to talk about it again. And what does that mean, nipping into the bud? I said I'm not going to do it again. So, message received from DJ
certainly.
Moore, and certainly seems like he's done talking about it. Also, just interesting him talking about his goals for the year. Basically, I don't have any goals this year because I'm still learning. I don't even know if I'm going to get the ball as much. And I asked him, point blank, okay, you're saying you have so much to learn. You have, you don't know how you're going to be used if you're going to get the ball. Do you get a sense that he's going to use you differently? And DJ Moore basically goes, well, you're going to have to wait to see. Some things you're going to have to wait until the regular season. I can't give everything away because we're trying a lot. One of those things that we have seen, and it is early. We should couch all of this. It just turned June. So you're trying a lot of people in a lot of different spots, seeing what sticks, what doesn't. But we've seen some DJ Moore in the slot, which he has not historically played during his career. So what do you make of DJ Moore, I guess, being a little coy about, I don't know if I'm going to get the ball. I don't know what my role is. What do you make of all that?
Well, first of all, I think that's one of those quotes that is going to be taken out of context, on social media and all that stuff. I don't know if I'm going to get the ball. People are going to way overreact to that. They're just trying everything out. And like you're alluding to with DJ in the slot, that's one of those things. Much like left tackle, much like any of these spots, they're trying a bunch of different guys in a bunch of different spots, and they're going to see what guys do well and what they don't do well, and build the offense, gear the offense towards that as we look towards training camp in August. And I think that obviously Keenan Allen's gone. He was the slot guy, and so you're still trying to figure out who's going to be in that role.
Right? Is it going to be 𝗻𝗻𝗶𝗹 𝗍𝗶𝘶? He's looked pretty good. Is it going to be Luther Burden? He hasn't been out the field since rookie minicamp, so that is up in the air. Is it going to be Colston Loveland? Again, hasn't been on the field, so a lot up in the air. All right, last guy at the podium, or at least last guy that we're talking about, 𝗻'Andre Swift, who has a prior relationship with Ben Johnson. What'd you make of 𝗻'Andre Swift up there?
Yeah, I think the notable thing that I took away from 𝗻'Andre was just that, there was all this talk in the offseason about should the Bears bring in, should they draft a running back in the second round, first round, whatever. Where is running back in their list of needs? And obviously they didn't address that until the seventh round of the draft. 𝗻'Andre Swift was not interested in any of those narratives. He said, I'm focused on what I do. I don't need to worry about any of that stuff. I think he's taking a pretty good approach towards, he knows Ben Johnson. He knows what Ben Johnson's offense is supposed to look like. And he knows how he will fit into that. And I think that's going to work really well for him. We'll see what that actually looks like when we get to the field.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, he knows Ben Johnson. So what's the difference between Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator in Detroit, and Ben Johnson, the head coach of the Chicago Bears? According to DeAndre Swift, he's a lot more serious because he needs to be. He kind of cracked himself up with that one.
That surprises none of us who have been out here watching practice. Ben is an intense guy, or at least he has been this spring.
No nonsense indeed. Okay, so that will do it for Sean Hammond. I am Alex Shapiro. Thank you for listening to this very short, abbreviated 1 day of mandatory minicamp edition of the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.